Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Inshallah, you're doing well. Thank you very much for attending tonight's program. Inshallah, we'll begin a little bit sooner than later so that we can recite, so we have sufficient time to recite Surah Yasin by our dear brother Labib, followed by this Quran recitation. There will be a speech by Sheikh Amin Rastani, and followed by a Q&A. Inshallah, we'll be providing the Slido link in which you can post your questions in respect to the speech, and we'll try our best to address as many of them. Without further ado, inshallah, we'll transition into Quran recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون أولم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللنا لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم وبلغ رسوله الكريم.
Beautiful recitation, greatly appreciated. This program tonight is dedicated for our dear brother Hajani's father who passed away tonight. This past week was his 40th. So let's take a moment to recite Surah Fatiha upon his soul. And another member of our community, Brother Riyadh, his mother passed away this past Friday. So let's recite the Surah Fatiha for her as well. And lastly, I think it should be noted that we condemn these recent atrocities and acts of aggression and, in short, murder of our brother George Floyd. These actions and types of repressions need to stop, and it can only be done so with people being willing to do something about it, be it by voice, be it by action. Being silent and being bystanders, the bystander is not an option. If we do so, we have a share in the crime. So let's be thoughtful of that and to try our best to do something about it, because if we don't, these things will continue. Now we would like to turn the discussion over to our guest speaker tonight, who is Sheikh Amin Rastani, who is a resident Alim at the Moment Center in Dallas, Texas. He and his brother Mahdi his own institute would work and run workshops and classes, Islamic classes, which I've heard are very beneficial and useful. We're so pleased to have him tonight in this regard. And the last thing we would like to mention is that please check out the YouTube chats, because there will be a link for the Slido link where you can post your questions, and inshallah we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. First and foremost, I would like to thank the brothers who deemed me worthy of taking a little bit of your time tonight, brothers and sisters. Those of you who might not know me, it's not that important to know me, but yes, we used to live in Arizona as well a few years ago. Not a few, a long time ago, actually, like maybe 15, 20 years ago, for a little bit. So I do have some connection with that area. And so, alhamdulillah, it's good to be speaking to some of the brothers and sisters that are in Arizona. It's the 40th, as Brother Hussein said, the 40th Arba'in of Brother Hani's father. And so, as he said, if you can keep him in your du'as tonight, that would be wonderful as well. And inshallah, Allah gives the rewards and shares the rewards of whatever blessings tonight has with him and sends it upon his grave and the other individual that was also mentioned, inshallah. Every time someone passes away or we commemorate their anniversary of their passing, it's a reminder for us, it's something that will shake us a little bit, just to remind us that, look, in the end, it's all going to end, and that we will be transferred to that place where we're supposed to be transferred to, the destination. And so for tonight, I thought, we would go through saying number 122 of Nahj al-Balagha, in which Imam Ali also, he kind of shakes us. Now, Nahj al-Balagha is a book in which Imam Ali is always shaking us. And it's a book in which Imam Ali keeps things very, very real and doesn't sugarcoat things, let's say. I would say that this book is a book in which, if someone wants to, well, it's a mix of different things, but the parts where he speaks about dunya and dunya versus akhirah, and dunya and akhirah, being kind of not getting along with each other. When it comes to these things, he really, really keeps it real and keeps us on our toes. And so Nahj al-Balagha is one of those books that every now and then, if we feel that we are a little too attached to what's going on in this world, in this dunya, let's call it, it's a good book to refer to, just as a wake-up call for us and to keep things in check. Anyway, with that, I want to begin our little talk tonight. It won't be a lecture. It will be a little talk and just a little bit of a reminder and maw'idah for all of us. And before I forget, I also wanted to thank the brother who recited Quran, Brother Labib, if I'm not mistaken. That was wonderful, mashallah. Everything about the recitation was nice, alhamdulillah. Not too fast, not too slow, with correct recitation and a nice voice. May Allah bless you and give you tawfiq to do more of this. Okay, so saying number 122, and I might make my way into saying number 123 as well. Let's just see how much time permits for us to do so. But the main part that I want to talk about is saying number 122 of Nahj al-Balagha. Now, those of you who might have taken a look at it before tonight's talk, you'll see that it's a pretty straightforward. It's a few lines, and it's pretty straightforward in the sense that it might not need too much tafsir or anything. But I just want to share with us a few of the thoughts that come to mind when you go over these lines. It says, قال أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام يوما, that on a particular day, Imam Ali says, and what was happening on this day? وَقَدْ تَبِعَ جَنَازَةً فَسَمِعَ رَجُلًا يَضْحَكُ. So it was a day in which they were taking a body to place it in its grave. A dead body, of course, of a believer probably. And they were taking, of course it was a believer, and they're taking him to bury him. Now, brothers and sisters, as you all have probably heard, one of the etiquettes of tashyi' of a janaza, and let's call it, escorting a janaza to the grave and following a janaza to the grave that it will be buried in and will rest in forever until the day of judgment or the day of resurrection. One of those etiquettes is, yes, to not be laughing, yes, and to be reflecting and to be thinking and to even put yourself in the shoes of that mayyit, of course, that mayyit's not wearing shoes, we're speaking figuratively here, yes? But to ask yourself, if I was in the place of this mayyit, in the place of this janaza, would I be ready or not? We have stories of ulama who would do that. If I'm not mistaken, Sayyid Bahrul Ulum, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember, who's very famous, Sayyid Bahrul Ulum, they say he had a grave in his backyard, in which every now and then he would go to and he would sleep in, and he would recite those famous verses of the Quran, where it says, رَبِّ ارْجِعُونَ لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلُ صَالِحًا فِيمَا تَرَكْتُ. The Quran talks about certain individuals when they are put in their grave, when the barzakh begins for them, when the going gets tough for them, when those angels come and ask them the questions that they cannot answer because they didn't live a life of piety, a life of tawheed. Yes, when this happens, this person says, Rabbi rji'un, oh Allah, return me to the dunya. Now that I've seen everything, return me to the dunya, لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلُ صَالِحًا, so that I may, do some good in that which I've left behind, in that which I've deserted. Yes? Kalla. The Quran says no. The answer is never. It's not going to happen. Impossible. Innaha kalimatun huwa qailuha. This is something that this person is just uttering, or else it ain't gonna happen. Yes? It's just this person is just wishfully thinking here and wishfully asking for something, or else it's not gonna happen. That was the whole test. You knew this day is coming, and you knew of punishment versus reward. Yes, you knew the promises of your Lord are true, and yet still you were lazy and you slacked off. Well, that's the test, my friend. You know it's coming, you just haven't seen it. These people, when they see it, that's when they're saying, oh, I want to go back now. No. That was the whole point, that you have the knowledge of it, you have the yaqeen of it, yet you're still lazy. Yes, that was the test right there. You were supposed to pass the test by not being lazy, by getting up. If we put you back in the dunya, وَلَوْ رُدُّوا لَعَادُوا, the Quran says somewhere else in the Quran, it says if they were to be returned, of course we would return them without this knowledge that they have, without this experience that they have now, yes, of seeing barzakh. And so since they will be stripped of that experience, if they were to be put back in the dunya, they would go back to their old ways. Same thing. It's just how they were. That's how their decisions and choices in life are. And so, brothers and sisters, that's why we have to be smart. We have to have respect for ourselves. A person who studies hard, goes to university to secure a good job in the future, yes, this person has respect for themselves. And so these people who work for their akhirah, they have respect for themselves. Now, these are the things that should be going through somebody's mind as they follow a janazah to its eternal abode, right? These are the etiquettes. Now here it says on one of these days, Amirul Mu'mineen is following a janazah, and there's somebody there also in that gathering, following this janazah. فَسَمِعَ رَجُلًا يَضْحَكُ. He heard a guy laughing behind the janazah. And so this shows that this person, at the end of the day, certain actions that we do, brothers and sisters, certain things that we do and say, they are a reflection of how good or bad a job we've done within our hearts, right? A person who is following a janazah but is just laughing, yes, this shows, or maybe kidding around with their friend, joking around with their friend, it shows that they don't know the magnitude of this day that is going to come for them as well, of course. Yes, there it is. It has a huge, great magnitude. It is of great magnitude, the day of death, right? To the point that, it's famous that Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, when he was passing away, they saw him weeping, and they say, why are you weeping? Of all people, what are you afraid of? Death, you have given your wealth twice in the way of Allah, all of it. You're the one who went for Hajj 25 times barefoot. Yes, that's one of the mustahabbat, maybe, you can say, of going to Hajj, to do it barefoot. Of course, we can't do that. We're too weak to do something like that, in this day and age that we live in. My generation down, yes, we have filled our bodies with Swiss cake rolls and all that kind of stuff. So, we're weaklings, compared to the older generations, mashallah. When you look at some of them, they're pretty strong, mashallah, to the core. But anyway, point being, yes, you, oh Imam Hassan, you went for Hajj 25 times barefoot. What are you worried about? And you're ma'asum, you're one of the Imams, you're one of the Ashabul Kisa. Yes, you're one of the 5 chosen ones. What are you worried about? He said, look, that the matla', when we enter upon the day of judgment, it is going to be one that is very hard. And so the fear of that is causing me to weep. That's one of the things he said in response to this. Now, does that mean he's prone to the punishments of that day? Of course not. We don't believe such a thing. But still, he has knowledge of the magnitude of that day. Yes? And since he has knowledge of the magnitude of that day, it still affects him. Even if we say he is not someone who might be affected by the day of judgment negatively, in a painful way, and so on. Yes. Anyway, I don't want to get into that discussion of how ma'sumin are immune or not immune. Do they have free will? Do they not? That's a different discussion. The point I'm trying to make right now is this, that some people, when they have a certain cognition, a certain conviction in their hearts, it shows itself, it reflects in their practice, in their behavior, in their appearance. Imam al-Hasan has ma'rifah of Yawm al-Qiyamah. He's weeping, although he might not be affected by it to begin with. Here, this person who's laughing, it shows that this person, yes, has not taken care of what they're supposed to take care of. As a result, they are negligent of the magnitude of this moment that they're in right now. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he notices this. فَسَمِعَ رَجُلًا يَضْحَكْ. He hears someone laughing, and so apparently this person needs a dars akhlaq. Yes, he needs an akhlaq lesson to fix him up a little bit, to shake him up a little bit. Because this act, this behavior that he's exhibiting right now, laughter behind a janazah, shows that there is a little bit of weakness in this person's iman. He has to be shaken a little bit. So Amir al-Mu'mineen takes this opportunity to shake him and shake all of us till today who read this khutbah or this saying of Nahj al-Balagha. He says maybe 3, 4, 5 things that we might have all thought of, some of them at least, in our lives. It comes through our mind every now and then. The first one, at least for me, I'm sure, ever since you're a kid growing up, this one comes to your mind all the time. He says, number 1, فَقَالَ كَأَنَّ الْمَوْتَ فِيهَا عَلَى غَيْرِنَا كُتِبْ. You're laughing, huh? It's as if, the way you're laughing shows it's as if death has been written for other than us. Or else if you knew that death has been written for you as well, has been decreed for you as well, you wouldn't be laughing like this right now. You would have been shaken up a little bit. Yes, seeing that this person, where this person is headed, and I'm going to be in that person's shoes in the future. Growing up, brothers and sisters, you always, this crosses your mind as a kid growing up. You're like, you think about death sometimes, and you just feel like it's not going to happen to you. It's just so beautiful how Allah has designed everything in this life, that He has given us this feeling that we're not going to die in this world. Every single one of us, I don't know about you guys, I ain't going to die. Yes? And Ayatollah Hassan Zada Amuli has a saying here, yes, or excuse me, Allama Tabatabai, yes, that he says that, yes, we have been created for eternity. And so we have this within us that we feel that we are going to always live. We just don't understand. There's a little bridge in between called death, yes? And that death is actually not lack of existence for us. It is just a transfer. It is just a bridge we cross to a fuller version of life, a wholesome or a more wholesome version of life, yes? So as a kid growing up, I'm always thinking to myself that, like, it just feels like I'm never going to die. And they're right. This feeling is right. It's accurate. We're not going to die. Yes, we're not going to die in the sense of this soul is going to continue a journey. But yes, there are bridges it will have to cross. One of them is death from the material world. So here the Imam says, it's as if we're not going to have this transfer. We're not going to have to walk over this bridge of death, it seems, for you. وَكَأَنَّ الْحَقَّ فِيهَا عَلَى غَيْرِنَا وَجَبْ. Now this is important here. He's getting to this point that whether we believe in death, we all believe in death, but practically do we actually believe in death or not? That's one thing. But the other thing is that let's just put death aside for a second. Yes? It's as if Allah's commands, Allah's wajib and harams, yes, these decrees, they have not, or excuse me, these tenets of the faith and these precepts of the faith, they have not been written upon us. Allah has not prescribed them for us. He says, وَكَأَنَّ الْحَقِّ فِيهَا عَلَى غَيْرِنَا وَجَبْ. Haqq, truth, that which Allah wants from us. It's as if that's not our obligation. That's other people's obligation. But for me, it's not an obligation. In practice, in theory, it might be different. In theory, mashallah, you ask the kids in Sunday school their wajibat, they'll give you an answer. Inshallah. You ask older people what their wajibat are, they'll answer. The thing is, though, in practice, the sins sometimes and the disobedience of God sometimes gets too much. And that in practice, what we're saying is that it's as if it's not wajib on me. Yeah? But why is this the case? Because I think personally, brothers and sisters, it's a result of that mentality of كَأَنَّ الْمَوْتَ فِيهَا عَلَى غَيْرِنَا كُتِبٍ. Because I practically feel like death is not for me, as a result of that, it's as if Allah's, the haqq, and living up to truth, yes, is not something wajib on me. If I felt like death is really for me, then I would also act in a way that it's as if the truth, the wajib, the haram has been prescribed for me. But no, that's not the case. Yes. وَكَأَنَّ الَّذِي نَسْمَعُ مِنَ الْأَمْوَاتِ سَفْرٌ عَمَّا قَلِيلٍ إِلَيْنَا رَاجِعُونَ. And he says, when we hear about the dead people, those who passed away, your grandma, you never met her. Your grandma was such a good person, she passed away years ago before you were born. You were a child when she was born, when you were a child when she died. Yes, you were a child when your grandfather died. All these things we hear, there was this person, there was that person, this scholar, that scholar. When we hear about them, the Imam says, it's as if, yes, they are people who are on a journey and one day are going to come back to us and we'll see them again. So there's nothing to worry about. Why fret? No. They're not coming back to us. We're going to go to them. They're not going to come to us. نُنْزِلُهُمْ أَجْدَاثَهُمْ وَنَأْكُلُ تُرَاثَهُمْ. Yes, these people, we put them and place them in their graves ourselves with our own hands. And once we're done with that, نَأْكُلُ تُرَاثَهُمْ. What they've left behind becomes our inheritance. We inherit from them. And we eat that and consume that inheritance. Yeah? The Imam is painting a picture here of a person who, puts that dead person in the grave, is done with that part, and whatever is left of the wealth, they'd start devouring it and consuming it. As if this is my life, this is what I was made for. كَأَنَّا مُخَلَّدُونَ بَعْدَهُمْ. The way that they devour this wealth now, it's as if they are here to stay forever. Or else they would figure out different ways to use this wealth to build their own akhirah. It's crazy. Yes? And this is how the dunya is. You spend your whole life accumulating. Now, the halal livelihood is wajib on us to secure. But there are some people who just, have some certain they have certain ambitions that are just too far-fetched. I want 7 figures in my bank account. That is my goal. Well, that's your goal in the secular world. Yes. I have inherited this much from so and so, this much from so and so. Alhamdulillah, I reached that point. Well, no. Allah gave to you, so now you spend it in different ways, and also take care of yourself above average, take care of your family and all that. But the way they devour the wealth, كَأَنَّا مُخَلَّدُونَ بَعْدَهُم. It's as if we're here to stay forever. قَدْ نَسِينَا كُلَّ وَاعِظَةٍ وَرُمِينَا بِكُلِّ جَائِحَةٍ. The last part of this saying, before I end, it says that the Imam says, we have forgotten all of those things, yes, that will give us that will preach us in one way or another, will be a reminder for us one way or another. We've forgotten all of that. Yes. As a result, I would say that's what I'm getting out of this line. As a result, we are the target of all these bala and tragedy and hardships. They all come towards us. Why? Because we turn our heads from those reminders of God in this dunya. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean a sheikh going on the minbar and speaking. No, not necessarily. The Quran is a wa'id, is a preacher. Death is a preacher. Imam Ali says in Nahj al-Balagha to somebody, he says, the dunya didn't hide anything from you. The dunya showed you everything. The dunya showed you everything. It showed you that people die in it and they're gone. Your loved ones are gone. Yes, it showed you all the hardships and calamity and tragedy and pain and suffering in it. It's not something you get too attached to. Yes, we take pleasure in life. There's nothing wrong with that. But to get attached to it as if this is everything, no. So death is a wa'idh. Yes, we have a hadith, kafa bil mauti wa'idhan, that death is enough of a preacher and reminder for you. Yes? You don't have to have a sheikh like me speak right now. Death itself is enough. Just to think about death, that's enough to fix things, keep you in check. Right? Another wa'idh is just looking around us, looking at the beauties that we see, and understanding that, okay, this beauty, where did it come from? Whatever the source of this beauty is, what is that? Let me go towards that. وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِيَ لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. I'm going to turn my head to the one who created from nothing the heavens and the earth. Yes, these are all maw'idha. Just thinking, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. If you look around you and you look within you, you'll find enough signs. You'll find enough maw'idha and wa'idh. Yes. If not, you will have to put up with a lot of hardship. Does that mean that every bad person lives in hardship and every good person lives in ease? No, not necessarily. But Allah, for the ones He cares about, if He sees that they are way off track, He will keep sending them certain things to get their attention, to shake them, and to bring them back towards Himself. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take care of us when it comes to these matters. It's always good to, every now and then, maybe, our akhlaq teachers would say this, every now and then, not too often, they would say. Every now and then you feel like, you're a little too attached. Just pass by the graveyard, take a look, and move on. Just remind yourself a little bit. Don't stay too long. You don't want to get depressed or anything, but and that's what they would say too. They would say, don't stay too long and don't go too often, but every now and then it's not a bad idea to just take a look and remind ourselves that, yes, this life, I love it a lot, but man, there's another life that I'm going to love even more if I can just build it. Inshallah, Allah gives us tawfiq in that regard. I just want to say a few words about, what we're dealing with in this day and age, and the whole George Floyd tragedy that took place. Just a few points. I know that there are a lot of webinars happening right now, a lot of presentations happening online, and there are people that can speak about this matter a lot better than I can. I just want to touch on a couple aspects of it that might not be touched on as much as I would like. Number one is, and I said this last night for our center, people in our center as well, what's important is those younger people out there who you would see on social media years ago, you would see that, they're very in love with, they take pride in, let's say, their country, which is here. Um, and we're all born and raised here, right? I'm born and raised here too. Oh, I was, and then, I went to Qom, and I came back now, and I'm no different than a lot of other people that, But the thing is, yes, this is our country in the sense that we were born and raised here, but Islam doesn't have these boundaries too much, brothers and sisters. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit. Our younger brothers and sisters, I would see on social media lots of times in the past, before this last dude came as president, but in the time of previous presidents, you would feel that they put too much trust into the system. And no matter how much you want to explain this to them, that look, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. You're just seeing your locality, you're just seeing your city, your state. You're not seeing everything around the world. Wake up. You just couldn't get through to certain people. But now things have changed. People are seeing that no. This capitalism will stop at nothing and will sacrifice everything for itself. Yes, that's the system. It's a broken system. There's no doubt about it. And not that it was proper and then it turned broken later, it broke later. No, it has been broken. We're just figuring it out now. So it makes it's at least something positive that even our kids, even the young ones out there are seeing. I mean, come on. What happened to, for example, George Floyd, one of many who have lost their lives like this? If you thought that was like the end of it, and then now you look at the protests and rallies, okay, we understand there's looting and all of that happening, and it's not acceptable, whatever, but what has pushed people to this point? Instead of focusing on how bad looting is, focus on how bad it was that people have no choice but to do certain things to get attention, so that legislation listens to them. Yes? Anyway, our kids, our youth, they see that even though George Floyd, he died in that manner, and you would think that, okay, now the brutality is going to stop. You look at the protests, even when there's tons of peaceful people, they're being attacked even. They're just standing there. And it's not even curfew time even. There's no reason. You just saw yesterday, a few days ago, the old man that they pushed down in DC, he falls backwards and there's all this blood coming out of the back of his head. Turns out he's a peaceful activist. He's always been. Yes? I don't know how old he was. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this, that this realization is something very blessed, actually, that people are now waking up. That's good. But it's not enough now, because they need to wake up a little bit more. And I don't see this happening, at least with the people, who don't come from the Middle East or the subcontinent or the Far East even, maybe. The Caucasians here, they might not get this, but the rest, it's expected for them to be cognizant of this matter, that, look, if this is where all the cameras are and everyone's filming what's happening, and it's their own people, the police, the National Guard, the military, whoever it is, yes, that is attacking them, at the end of the day, this is their own people that they're attacking, right? And there's this much ruthlessness, there's this much brutality, no mercy at all, then we have to understand that when the military goes to other countries and puts its boots there, where there are no cameras to film and record, where people are helpless, and where these are people that are not from the same place, they're not from the same country, region as those troops, those soldiers that are in their soil now, God knows what happens. God knows the war crimes that take place, and so on. I don't think right now is the time to shift the focus. Yes, right now they have to focus on, America itself, the people, and try to get some legislation going for these matters. But at the same time, yes, people will see through the rest as well. See through all of what the media tells them about, protecting our borders outside of our borders. All right, this is something that it's clear as day, and yet still people are missing it. That's one point I wanted to make. Another point I want to make about all of this is that that I don't know what to call him. If I don't like to use this word, but that animal that suffocated George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds with his knee. There are worse people than him out there too, like Saddam Hussein, for example. I just want to share with you one line one of these great ulama said once when they were speaking to him about one of these tyrants. I think it was Saddam Hussein that they were speaking to him about years ago, many, many years ago. He had said, after they spoke, he said that, yes, we all have a Saddam Hussein within us. Okay. In other words, try to defeat that Saddam Hussein within you. That police officer, what he has within him, we all have it too, brothers and sisters. Now, we don't get it in Farsi, we have a saying that there's no water or else I'm a good swimmer. In other words, I don't get the opportunity to do certain things or else I might be that bad as well. Now, of course, none of us, inshallah, are going to be like that guy, that police officer who did such a crime. But the point I'm trying to make in the message that alim was getting across is this, that this nafs al-ammara bis-su' is something that if you don't contain it, if you don't tame it, it can get so bad and out of hand that it'll become like Saddam Hussein in its own way. And so what we get out of all of this, yes, our brothers and sisters out there, they're protesting, all of that. I've seen it, and may Allah accept from them. But this is where, the adrenaline is pumping, you're hyped up and worked up, and you're out there, just like during the Prophet's time when they were in battle. And then when they came back to normal life, the Prophet told them, okay, that was the minor struggle. Now it's time for the major struggle, to fight against your own nafs. Yes, these are things, brothers and sisters, we have to take care of. Fighting the nafs with the wajib and haram. You'll see people that are going to the protests, that's good. Then you see that there are certain things in their life that is haram. Yes, well, you're not fighting the nafs and you're just fighting the outer enemy. You have to do both, or else it can come back and get you from where you never thought it was going to get you. So that is also something on the side. I said these 2 points. I made these 2 points. I made these 2 points for what purpose? Because these are things on the side. The main issue right now is that racism that has to be addressed, and mashallah, they're addressing it everywhere online these days, and there are some very good presentations that are also taking place. And so inshallah, Allah helps us to raise this awareness, educate ourselves more and more about Islam, and so that we can never fall into such pitfalls ourselves, inshallah. And with that, I'll wrap up. If there are, Brother Hussein, you said there's a Slido, right, with the questions. If there are any, we'll take the questions. If not, then nas'alukum ad-du'a.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Amin, for the speech. We do have questions. So inshallah, I'll go over them, and please let me know if you can't hear me or if it.
I can hear you.
Okay. So the first question asks, what is the difference between ruh and nafs?
Ruh and nafs.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a question a lot of people ask. I purposely don't get into the answer of that, because these are things that I feel knowing them or not knowing them doesn't make a difference for us when it comes to our spiritual closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What matters is how much we're obeying Him. And once we obey Him the way we're supposed to, whatever it is that we're going to call it, the ruh or the nafs, will grow so much that this body will not be able to contain it anymore. Yes? So yeah, if you want me in a nutshell, there's different things that are said in this regard though. Nafs and ruh. I'll just share with you what Allama Tehrani says. But there are other philosophical explanations in this regard as well. I haven't done too much research in it. But people like Allama Tehrani, he says that the ruh is once is that soul that separates from the body and enters the barzakh and has a mithali body. A mithali body is a body that has no matter, and so I don't want to get into details because once again it's not a philosophical discussion we're having here. But after Yawm al-Qiyamah arrives, and that time of pure Tawheed arrives, this ruh, the nafs, sheds that mithali body even and separates from it. And so the ruh would be it'll be a combination of the mithali body and the nafs. And once the nafs separates from even that and sheds even that body, it will become the sheer nafs that it says, Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah. As I said, there's different explanations maybe. I just shared with you one of the ones that I've seen with Allama Tahrani. Yes.
Thank you. So the next question is the following. It says, what is a daily practice that one can do to awaken the reality of death?
Of the
Death, of death. Like, so what could one person do to become more conscientious about death?
Well, the arrow in, I would say that little, the handle in the heart, that little arrow in the heart, yes, which right now is spinning left and right and isn't able to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason for that, our ulama of akhlaq have told us, is that we kind of have a sloppy obedience of Allah once again. If a person, Ayatollah Bahjat says this, others say this as well. If a person continues obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, continues obedience of Allah and continues the wajib and haram of Allah, right, slowly Allah will put a light in their heart in which they will become more cognizant of certain things. Yes, death will find more meaning for them. It takes a long time. The sloppier my obedience towards Allah, the less that nur will come into the heart. And the more precise I act upon the wajib and haram of Allah, the more this eye of the heart will open and will experience things, and nur will be put into it by Allah. Now someone might say, well, we're praying and fasting. That's wajib and haram taken care of. No. Brothers and sisters, it's a lot. We have to be a lot more meticulous than that. You have individual wajib and haram. You have social wajib and haram. You have haram and wajib in the workplace. You have wajib and haram at home with your family. Yes? I mean, the guy is the first guy in the center and the last guy out of the center, the one who turns the lights on for the center. This is just an example. I hope no one takes offense. Then this person at home is verbally abusing his wife and kids. Or vice versa. The wife is abusing the kids or the husband, bothering them. Yes, this is one of the wajibat or harams that's being compromised here and not being observed here. You understand what I'm saying? There are so many wajib and harams that we have to learn from our maraji' and act accordingly, right? Or else wajib and haram is not just fasting and prayer. Yes, the backbiting that we do, the speaking ill of people that we have, the heartbreaking, breaking someone's heart, that is haram. Ayatollah Bahjat, he goes this far. He says, even if it reaches a point where he says it's you have to split hairs so much that not become OCD and obsessive about things. No, Islam has guidelines for different things. Some places it will say split hairs. Some places it will say relax and don't go hard on yourself. Each ruling is different though. But at the end of the day, there are rulings for a lot of things that we have to go by. Yes? And so we have to be very, very careful about everything. We have to learn, first of all, and then we have to act upon it. If that is done, then these greats are telling us that that's what we did and we got there. Yes, once a person takes care of the wajib and haram completely to the point that they know they're not sinning anymore. And if they do, because they're not ma'soom, they do tawbah and get up right away. Yes, then this person can now add certain mustahabbat as well. But I'll end this answer with this line from Ayatollah Bahjat, which is a famous line he would say. is that if you're taking care of your wajib and haram completely, yes, there's a saying in Farsi that says you can throw your hat up in the air, meaning you can be the happiest person in the world because Allah will take care of the rest for you. It's not something that we can do actively ourselves. I want to fall more in love with Allah. Yes, you can recite Quran more, you can do a lot of things, but if you're sinning, that special light, that special love will not be put into our hearts. And so that's something we have to understand. That is something that comes as a result of obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you so much. So the next question is the following. It says, what is our role with the injustice that is happening towards Black community here?
Yeah, so we spoke about that. I spoke about that.
Yes.
We have to educate ourselves. Well, first of all, I would say as Muslims, okay, in order to not allow that racism to make its way into our communities, we have to learn Islam itself properly. I get the feeling that that pure spring of knowledge of Islam, we've added a lot of additives to it, a lot of extra stuff that isn't a priority sometimes. Even I don't want to get into details. I don't want to give certain examples either. I'm just going to keep it a little vague, but all I'll say is this, that what we've added sometimes is not even important. And so we miss out on the more important things, learning about them. I personally feel if a person learns Islam properly, it's impossible for them to be racist. Yes? So that's the first step, I would say. So learn Islam properly. Yeah? Number one. And then after that, to start addressing each of these issues and identifying where it's not being Islamic. Hey, where in Islam does it say that, this is not allowed, that we shouldn't do this, or we should be like this towards this person or that person? Yes, and who are we kidding? As a result of this this misinformation that we have, this lack of education, that we have, that sometimes we see that people in practice, they are being such. They are being biased against certain people that come to their center even. Yeah, there's no room for any of this. And it seems that we have engulfed ourselves. Yes, engulfed ourselves in certain things that are not priorities. And so we neglect some of these principles, these basics and foundational teachings of Islam. So I think that's where it begins with. And then, mashallah, as I said, I mean, nowadays, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of material being presented out there that will help us even more in this specific situation that we're in now. Well, all these conferences and webinars and everything that's going on. But yeah, it should be an ongoing thing as well, I would say.
Thank
Not
you.
just because it happened a
Yes.
week ago, 2 weeks ago, and then it dies out. Yes, excuse me.
No. Thank you. The next question asks the following: how can we avoid becoming influenced and drawn into the existing system?
Once again, it goes back to, I would say, it begins with the education.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, and then number two, just breaking these things these norms that we've gotten used to of boundaries, and I am American. No, I'm Muslim. I live in America. Let me look around me and see what's going on in other parts of the world, right? And then let me bounce all of that off of the teachings of Islam. Yeah, it seems that we get too caught up in the culture here, which is fine. I used to play football and basketball too as a kid. I used to watch cartoons too as a kid. That's part of culture. It's fine. But this idea of I'm going to give all the benefit of the doubt to where I am, and then I'm not going to be not really caring too much about what's happening outside, that kind of stuff doesn't work. The more you read about what's going on, the more you talk to different people about certain things, what's going on here, what's going on there, getting their ideas, I think it raises awareness in us. It's become cool actually now, the woke culture, they say, which is coming with its own baggage, and we have to be careful about certain parts of that baggage as well.
Okay, so the last question that we have on Slido says, why are certain positions / jobs in a society like police officer makruh?
Makruh?
Yes.
Who says being a police officer is makruh? I don't know where that's coming from. We do have certain occupations that are makruh, though. I have never heard that being a police officer is one of them. Yes, sometimes there might be certain reasons why it would be better not to, to have certain occupations. But I'll give you an example. So, for example, one of the famous examples of makruh occupations is to be a butcher. Okay. Now, someone might say, "But I'm a butcher, like, so that means I'm doing something makruh all my life." No, 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 no. In the sense that, when you're slaughtering animals so much, it becomes a little bit, it becomes a little normal for you. And so, if you can choose something else, this is what makruh would mean, I would say. Then go and try to choose something else. But I want you to pay attention to this now, brothers and sisters. If there's a need, and now there is a need, of course, for Muslim butchers, then not only will it be makruh, it'll turn to mustahab. It's very interesting. Yes, how certain things, they go from makruh to mustahab all of a sudden. Sometimes even something haram becomes wajib because of the circumstances. Haram meat is haram, but if you're stuck somewhere where you have to have haram meat to survive, it becomes wajib to have it. Some things are like that. If there's a need for butchers, which there is, yes, then yeah, it'll become mustahab. Sometimes even it might become wajib. So these are one of those. These are matters that sometimes it's better to ask your marja about and see what they say. Yeah, but let's say there's more than enough butchers, and you can choose either becoming a butcher or something else. I would say if they tell you it's makruh, that would mean okay. In such a scenario, choose another occupation. But I haven't heard about this. I'll have to see what they mean by being a police officer is makruh. Like, let's say you're in a Muslim country, for example, and you want to be a police officer. That might not necessarily be a bad thing. Now, some might have told you that it's makruh to be a police officer here, like in this country. They might have a explanation for that. I don't know what that is. So.
Okay, thank you. One question I had is that is the following: what can we do in a situation where we become? I at least my feeling is that gradually we're becoming numb to, like, let's say, atrocities and deaths and things. Like, it's so common, like, to the extent that, like, be it even the U.S., that they say school shootings as American as apple pie, or like let's say killings that we hear every day, or be it in the U.S. or be outside the U.S. What can we do about the situation where, like, gradually we're kind of becoming numb to, like, these news, and, like, we don't react the same way that maybe we would have, be it when we were younger or when things weren't as this bad?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we can only do so much. Your question is a tough question. It's like, hey, look around us. We see all this stuff happening. How can I not become numb to it? Well, because it's happening so much. We are human beings, and things, it does cause some numbness. I understand. And so what to do so that we don't get that numbness? I mean, do what your wadifa is. If you do what your duty is in every given scenario, which you have to, once again, see what the scholars are saying about it, then hopefully, even if you do become numb to it, right? Even if you become numb to it, you'll still be doing your responsibility. You see, who says becoming numb is a bad thing? It is kind of bad, I would say. Of course, it's frowned upon to become numb. But usually becoming numb to these things, the reason why it's bad is because a person who becomes numb won't do their responsibility towards it anymore. So the least is that at least I have to figure out what my responsibility is in every given scenario. Try my best to, even if I get numb, to continue doing my responsibility. Yeah, that's the more important thing, I would say, versus trying to figure out how I don't become numb anymore. No, it's going to be something that it's a natural given. Us as human beings, we adapt to our circumstances. As I said, let's go back to, like, the butcher example. The guy who slaughters an animal the first time is going to be different than the 1,000th time, for sure. The one who sees a gory video for the first time is going to be different than the 10th, 15th, 100th time, right? But what's important, I would say, is this, yeah, is that whatever our natural bodies, yes, and these material bodies we have, and our senses are going through, whatever that is, we'll try our best to not let it happen, the numbness. But if it does, at least we have to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. That's the important part, I would say. I hope I was able to get that across,
Yes, yeah. Thank
That's
you
how
so
we
much.
are. As human beings, that's how we are. We adapt, I'll give you an example. Like, I really, as a kid, loved animals and watching animals and wildlife and all of that. I never knew that until I grew up that, that lions and hyenas and cheetahs and all of these predators, lots of times before they strangle their prey to death, they will start tearing it up while it's alive. And so the first time I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible, and I just couldn't take it. But, you see some more of that. Not that I'm always watching this kind of stuff. I'm just giving an example here. It becomes a little bit more normal for you. That's just how we are as human beings. What Allah wants from us, you won't find anywhere in the Quran that says, don't become numb to things. But you will find in the Quran and in the hadiths that, look, make sure you're always doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, we'll try our best not to become numb, but at the same time, we'll do our responsibility in every given scenario, inshallah. Hopefully that made sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for answering the questions and the clarifications, and especially knowing the time difference between Arizona and
No problem.
Dallas. So we greatly appreciate it.
No problem, brother.
Inshallah, we can have a future talk.
Inshallah.
Well, with that, we don't want to take any more of your time. Please keep us in your du'as and
Same to you.
convey
Keep
our
me in your
salams to
du'as
your
as well.
family.
And thank you for this opportunity. And it was wonderful to connect with you brothers and sisters, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So inshallah, we'll be ending tonight's program with a recitation of dua by Brother Zohair.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم ادخل على أهل القبور السرور اللهم اغن كل فقير اللهم اشبع كل جائع اللهم اقسى كل عريان اللهم اقض دينا كل مدين اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب اللهم رد كل غريب اللهم فك كل عسير اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم صد فقرنا بغناك اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك اللهم اقض عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.